All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachak the honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in true sincerity. Or this is the brother Tawab Rachah from GMS Los Angeles, coming back with another video in the spirit. And once again, Thwadi Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, for opening my eyes to his truth. Allow me to wake up another day and putting the spirit on me to do another lesson in hopes to edify the hopeful elect. Okay, and as you can see, I have this still here of this actor, this Jake, by the name of Anthony Mackie. Okay, some brothers you may know him from movies like 8 Mile or the recent Captain America movie. He's been in a lot of movies. And he was on this podcast. As you can see, the podcast right there, I believe it's called The Pivot, right? And he was on that podcast and he made some statements regarding masculinity, okay? And how, Hollywood, through the films, through the TV shows, different mediums, Hollywood has pushed that homosexuality, man, and Jake, the so-called black man, as well as the so-called Latino and Native American men, okay, mainly that's because Esau, the so-called white man, these elites, I'm speaking about these so-called international bankers, right? They know that we're the people of the Lord, and they know that, homosexuality is a sin, a transgression against the Lord. Okay. And they have Jake, okay, put on dresses, okay, play these roles as if they're women, to push that, to emasculate the men, okay? And that's why nowadays you see a lot of these men out here with women-like tendencies, okay? You even have guys that are, athletes, professional athletes, painting their fingernails, You see certain artists, music artists, paint their fingernails. Okay, a man painting his fingernails, that's effeminate, man. Okay, a man ain't supposed to be painting his goddamn fingernails. Okay, that's something that women do. Okay, and the scriptures speak about that. Okay, and I'm gonna go into it. I'm gonna bring out a few scriptures just to show that the Lord that those things that are the men of our nation are participating in are abominable, man. Okay, so like I said, this Jake, this actor right here, he said he basically he pushes that on his sons, being men, having traits of a man. He said wherever he goes out for a job, he tells his oldest son, okay, his eldest son, all right, he tells him that he's the man of the house and he's the to watch out over the house as if he's watching over the house, And see, this is something that is lacking, majorly lacking, among our people. The average household, Israelite household is broken homes, okay? Single parenthood, and you got some jakes that grow up in the foster care system, okay? So, I mean, it goes back to the curses, but the statement that he made, this is just, this is all part of Esau. I mean, really, ultimately, the Lord set this man up, to fulfill prophecy, right? But the Esau, like I said, he knows that we're the people of the Lord, and he does these things to accuse us to the Father, but to no avail, because the Lord has a remnant, an elect that's reserved. Okay, that's not going to be caught up in all this madness, all this filth. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna get right into it, and Lord willing, this be edifying. So the first scripture I'm gonna start with. Bear me 1 second. Okay, bear me 1 second. This is Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. Okay, it says, "The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy power." Right. So that's why I said, you got these guys that paint their fingernails. That's something that pertains to a woman. Okay. All right. You got men putting dresses on, putting wigs on. That's something that pertains to a woman. Okay. A man's not supposed to be wearing a dress. A man's not supposed to have lipstick. Okay. Lip gloss, putting eyeliner on. Okay. A man ain't supposed to be painting his goddamn fingernails, man. Okay. Those aren't characteristics of a man. Okay, those are things that women do or into. Or all right, and it's saying also for the women. Okay, because you got studs, but basically women that try to look like men. Okay, you got a heavy spirit, a perverse spirit of women. Going out there and pegging other men, as we recently seen, with this whole Sakari scandal. A lot of men, you'd be surprised, man. A lot of men out here are into that type of shit, and that's a heavy demonic spirit that's out here in this world right now, man. You know, and that's also part of that destroying, them trying to destroy that the masculinity in this society, man. You know, because when you watch these television, when you watch these TV shows, okay, well, I'll just say shows because it really ain't no because they got all these apps, but these shows out here, especially if you got Netflix, they got an actual category on Netflix that's dedicated to the alphabet people, man. And they got all type of shows that push that agenda, man. Men with men, women with women. Okay, and that's not how the Lord set things up. Okay, the man is supposed to be the head. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Bear me 1 second. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. It says, "But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach Yahushai, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is the Most High." Okay, you see that? So the man is the head of the woman. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay, the man's supposed to be above the woman, but see, in this society, they put the woman above the man. Okay, and that's why a lot of these men have been emasculated, and these men that are raised by women, they have a lot of effeminate traits about them, man. That's why a lot of these men out here, they get emotional, when they get talked to a certain way. When another man speaks to them in a stern manner, they get offended. They get easily offended, because a lot of them they didn't have a father, because having a father establishes that masculine presence. You have a father that doesn't allow you to have your way. Okay, he's a mentor. And he lays down discipline. That way when you become a man yourself, you'll know how to navigate properly. You'll know how to conduct yourself, man. Okay, and that's why you got a lot of these YNs out here getting into all kind of mischief, man. Because there's no structure, there's no order, there's no male in their life to give them that guidance. Okay, ultimately, truly the guidance comes from these scriptures. But if you ain't got no male or no father in your life, that's a detriment to a lot of these young men out here and women. Okay, so that's the order. But see, in this society, everything is out of order. Everything is out of whack. Okay, and that's why this guy right here, Anthony Mackie, said what he said. Okay, because he's a Jake himself. He's a man. He has children. Okay, he has a wife. Okay, and he sees what's going on with because he's speaking of, man. He said American, but really it's Jake, man. Our people. I mean, yeah, these other nations are affected too, but I'm focusing on our people, man, because we're the people of the Lord, man. Okay. And like I said, that's these wicked ass elites, these devils. Okay, they know we the people of the Lord. They know as long as we sin against the Lord, they know that's our kryptonite, so to speak. But like I said, the Lord got a remnant that he's raising up now. All right, I got another one. This is Romans chapter 1, verse 25. It says, "Who changed the truth of the Most High into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause the Most High gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature." Right. You like I said, you got women out here, with the strap-ons. Okay. That's wicked as hell, man. That shit is filthy and vile, man. That's sick. For a woman to walk around with that, acting as if they have a rod, man. Okay, something that that's a sex organ that belongs to a man only. Okay, and then you got men out here chopping their rod off, trying to have a vagina, man. Okay, you got men out here they like to get they rear end played with. All right, I ain't trying to be too graphic, but you got, like I said, you got a lot of men that's into that filth. Okay, men, like men with men. Okay. So that these vile affections, these people have totally been given over to that, man. It's just it's totally disgusting. But this is what the scriptures say these things will be, how these things will be going down, man. All right, it says, "For this cause the Most High gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman." Because what does a man and a woman naturally do? They have sex. Okay, the man takes his rod, all right, his penis, and he inserts it into a woman, into her vagina. Okay, and what is the purpose? Really, the purpose of that to reproduce. Okay. That's how you start a family. That's how you start a nation, through sex. Okay, through reproduction, and that's part. Like I said, that's part of Esau's agenda, because also that's a way of them trying to, that's a way, because they know that you know, if a man can't produce a child, a woman can't produce a child, okay? You know, so this devil, you know, this fucking so-called white man Esau, okay? This is all a part of his agenda, man. Okay? And he's been a perfect devil, you know. That's why we in a time now, you know, his kingdom is coming down. The Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is surgically taking this man down, man. You know, and he's taking his economy down. Okay, you know the everything here, everything across all across the board in Babylon is at an all time low. Okay, and he's getting hewed down by the prophets. Okay, by the words of the prophets. All right, it says, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. Right, that's why they get all these AIDS, okay, all these sexual transmitted diseases, okay. And then you got these group of men they call the DL, the down low. They you know, they might have a wife, they may have wife and children, but secretly they're you know, they going out with other men, having sex with other men, laying down with other men, okay? As acting as if they straight, you know. You got a lot of them too. And they get a lot of these women these sexual transmitted diseases, man. So this place, you know, it's a lot of filthy, abominable individuals in the society, man. And that a lot of these individuals, they're gonna be destroyed, man, because that shit is wicked as hell, man. So yeah, you know, that's pretty much what I wanted to, you know, go into. Like I said, I was just inspired, just watching this part of, you know, I didn't watch the whole video. I just came across the part where, you know, he was talking about that subject, you know, about masculinity. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So with that, I'm gonna give all glory and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Hakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing his word, truth, sincerity. Shalom.